Welcome to the BartenderHQ.com podcast. Find us on Facebook and Twitter at BartenderHQ. Here's your host, David Eden-Sangwell.
Okay guys, I'm joined today by Tom Dyer, who is currently the Roadhouse World Flair Bartending Champion. Is that right, Tom?
Apparently so, that's what people say, yeah.
Happy days.
Happy days indeed.
Now, I've known Tom for quite a while. We've bartended together a few times, going up way back to when I used to do event Flair, and it was actually my first event, I think, that they chucked the two of us behind a bar together.
Was that the Homelands Festival?
It was, and everyone was already pissed by the time we got there. And I think we took over from the Neils, didn't we? Was it Neil and Neil?
I think you're right. Yeah, there was the Cuba Libre bar.
Yes.
At the Be Live tent at Homelands, and I think Neil and Neil were on the bar. Maybe even Ricky Gill might have been on the bar in the daytime. I'm not sure. and then they left the mess for us to deal with. It was me, you, and a girl, Emma, something was it? I can't remember now.
Yes, but on the plus side, we only had to make Bacardi and Coke all night, so it wasn't.
Indeed.
It wasn't that taxing, was it?
No, I got to practice our Flair quite a bit, which is good.
It was good. And obviously I was starstruck because obviously you were already a huge name in the Flair scene way back then. When was that, like 2006, 2007, something like that?
Testing my memories now.
Something along those lines.
Yeah, something like that, I think it was. Yeah, 2006 or 7, or maybe even 5, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so really early on, and some great times. But, Tom, how did you get involved in Flair in the first place? What was it that sort of drew you to Flair?
It's that age-old question, isn't it? It's something I saw somebody do once. Actually, no, sorry, that's a bit of a lie. My sister was working at a restaurant, and she came back and said they do all that bottle throwing and what have yous. And obviously, it kind of caught my attention a little bit. We went up to the restaurant for something to eat. I saw a guy do it, and I just thought it was great. From then, I didn't really think much of it. Me and my sister, we tried to do something when we got home that evening. I think catch a bottle on the back of our hand, and was like, "No, it's impossible. Can't do it. No, I don't believe what I saw earlier. It's impossible." And then when I turned 16, I started working in that same restaurant that we went to.
Okay.
As a busboy. And when I got to 18, it was basically a case of, they said to me, do you want to be a bartender or do you want to be a server? So I was like, well, bartenders pull more chicks, so I'll be a bartender.
Yeah.
And yeah, just sort of started to try and bartend my way through the next couple of months. Got shown a few moves here and there, but wasn't really that interested in it. And then my bar manager at the time, who was Jody Myers, suggested that we all go to the Roadhouse World Finals in November 2000, this was.
Okay.
So myself, him, and a few other people went up to Roadhouse, got there as the doors opened, sat down on Station 3,
Yep.
And watched the Roadhouse World Finals from beginning until end. And then from that point on, I was hooked.
And that is a hell of a long day. I don't know how long the shows were back then, but I know when I got into it, I think probably about 2005, 2006. It was an all-day thing. The first bartender was on around about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then it goes on all the way through, and it's a hell of a long day, but it's an awesome event. Yeah,
it is a long day indeed. I think we got there about midday.
Right.
And I think the first person was on probably about 1:30.
Yeah.
And then it didn't finish. The comp finished. Shit, that was the thing. It finished a bit earlier back then.
Okay.
So it finished around 11:30, 12.
Yeah.
But it was still, a good 10 to 12 hours of flair and debauchery, as it were. However, I wasn't drinking back then. I just was strictly on the Pepsis or the Coca-Colas. Yeah, believe it or not. Fully focused on the Flair routines.
Awesome. So this first bar that you worked in, obviously a lot of people as well have that choice of going either Flair, bartender or server, and it's kind of fame or fortune quite often, isn't it? Like with the servers making normally a bit more cash on the floor, especially early on.
Yeah.
But I mean, nowadays, how do you fill your time? I'm guessing you don't actually bartend full time. You tend to fill your time more with Flair than with actually being behind a regular bar?
Well, sadly, yeah, I don't bartend anymore on a fixed bar. But funny, if you go back to when I started on the bar, started working as a bartender.
Hmm.
Shortly afterwards, even after the Flair and everything, I decided to become a server because I wasn't making any money on the bar. Started to become a server, and then I went back to the bar, I think it was, and then I moved to TGI Fridays. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, nowadays, most of my time is spent sitting in this office I'm in right now, sort of trying to decide the next cocktail I've got to make for the next WFA Grand Slam competition,
Okay.
or I've got to figure out, or so I put together my music for Flair Mania, which is coming up next week, which is happening in Riga.
Okay.
So I've got my cocktail, which I finished today, and what else is going on? There's a lot of different things that happen day by day, whether it be like I say, preparing for a competition, or coming up with a new cocktail, or running the bar school we've got here in London, which is London EBS, European Bartender School.
Okay.
So it changes day by day depending on what's going on, what needs to happen, what needs to do. And yeah, it's exciting. It's nice to be not working behind a bar every day, but at the same time, I still miss it. Still miss that camaraderie between bartenders and friends. They become like your family. That interaction with guests, and the fun you can have working behind a bar, and you meet all different types of people from around the world, and it's a great experience. It's definitely a great job for traveling, for having a good time, for enjoying yourself, for earning some decent money if you're good at it. That is, I suppose. But yeah, sadly I'm not working behind a fixed bar anymore. I try and do events. I try and do as many shows as I can. I try and get behind a bar as much as I can whenever I have the possibility.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, I'm in kind of the same situation. I mean, my day job doesn't keep me behind the bar. I've got a weekend gig that I kind of, a lot of weekends I end up working at a specific nightclub for my partner. But yeah, you do miss the day-to-day and the making drinks every day and meeting people all the time. I didn't actually know that you'd spent time at Fridays. How long were you there for?
I joined WFA, sorry, TGI Fridays Garston, which is sort of Watford.
Right.
And I was there for about a year, I think it was. Enough to get the training, to learn the cocktails, to expand my bartending skills a little bit more, because one person brought me aside once and said, "Stop flaring and learn to bartend."
Yeah.
And it's great advice. Just to learn to put my bottles down and stop worrying about, hey, my next bottle tin move, or whatever it was back then, and start worrying about how to make a Long Island iced tea. And I thank them for it, because now I am actually a competent bartender. I can work behind a bar. I can give good service. I can make decent enough drinks. I'm not the best mixologist, in inverted commas, in the world, but I can hold my own, and I can make a decent cocktail. So that's my one piece of advice that people always ask me about anything is, learn to make drinks before you can learn to flare. And TGI Fridays helped that. They helped me with my training and helped progress my career.
Yeah, I've always said that Fridays is a great grounding for anyone that, especially in the UK, because there aren't many bars that have the sort of breadth of cocktails to a standard that Fridays have got. There's a lot of independent bars, and they'll all teach you it, but you tend to find that each bartender at an independent has got their own way of making an old-fashioned or a Manhattan or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas Fridays, at least that's the standard, that's it. And the way that they sort of support people as well with the bartender challenge and that sort of thing is really good, which is why they keep some of the decent bartenders, which other chains just struggle to do so much. So the WFA, what's your involvement with that, and what's coming up with them?
Well, WFA launched back in 2008, and they asked me to come along on board. They was Tug Vandenberg back in the day, Andy Collinson, Fabio Milani, and Christian Delpesh was involved.
Awesome.
And they asked me to come and be involved, to be sort of a bit of a face behind it, I suppose. And for the first year, it kind of it just went along as it was. It was made to be a bit of a competitor, I suppose, to other associations, whether it be FBA or IBA. I think the guys saw more of a gap in the market, that there was the other associations were monopolizing perhaps a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I got involved and was basically global ambassador. I've now turned into the role of Grand Slam coordinator. Sorry, not Grand Slam, excuse me, gradings coordinator.
Okay.
Ivan Kovkis is the Grand Slam coordinator. So as the years have gone on, we've developed the Grand Slam so that the standard of competitions, of Grand Slam competitions, has grown, so that competitors, they have a certain sense of knowing, and they can relax in the sense to know that a Grand Slam competition has to meet certain requirements.
Okay.
And as a competitor, it's good to know that when you're going to that competition, that at least, well, all of those requirements should be met. It does happen that sometimes they don't meet the requirements, but at least they know that the stage is going to be good, the practice area is going to be good, the judges are going to be good. You know, the most important things that the competitors are thinking about is going to be taken care of, because the WFA has made sure that this competition is meeting a certain strict set of requirements. So that's been developing over the years and is constantly changing, constantly growing and constantly improving, which is exciting to see. The WFA gradings as well, which is a leveling system for Flair bartenders, which there's 10 levels altogether, which go from white, yellow, orange, green, blue, purple, black, bronze, silver, and gold. And cool. The first, well, the yellow, orange, green, and blue are all tested levels. So I think something like karate.
Yeah.
Different color belts, but you have different color shakers, and in each
Nice.
level there's different what's the word? I've lost my vocabulary. Just different. There's different rounds you have to complete.
Yeah, gotcha.
A round, a speed round, a working Flair round, and exhibition Flair round, and that's for yellow, orange, green, and blue level. Then when you get to purple, black, bronze, silver, and gold, it comes down to competitions.
Okay.
So we're trying to encourage all those bartenders from around the world, which don't have the lucky way, as I suppose, as some of us, to be able to travel as much and get to these competitions. The gradings is something for them to work towards. It's motivation for those who can't travel as much to try and improve their skill and give themselves an internationally recognized standard by getting the yellow, the orange, the green, the blue. And then by the time they reach the blue, they know that they're at a certain standard to potentially start competing in competitions. And that's when they should be at a level of a professional level where they should be performing shows and working behind a bar, and then hopefully competing in some of the Grand Slam competitions. So that's where the WFA Grand Slam and the gradings sort of intertwine, as it were. And that's constantly growing. The gradings is moving forward really well. We're getting more and more gradings examiners come on board. Gradings examiners are the ones who can conduct a gradings test. Only those who have gone through the gradings examiner training can conduct that test. But for 2015, there's some new exciting things coming up. We won't give away too much, but the website's going to be updated.
Okay.
Adding new aspects to the website, which is going to be quite exciting. I'm looking forward to that. And what's the next bit? Oh, and the Judge Academy.
Okay.
The Judge Academy is something which has been in the pipeline for about a year and a half now. And it's an academy where anybody who wants to be a qualified judge can come on this academy. They can learn the shorthand of judging a competition. They can learn what to look for, how to look for it, what they should be looking for, the difference in the categories, what the categories mean. It's basically, imagine a bartender course, but for judging. So when people finish this course, they'll have a recognized certificate to say, well, I've taken this course, I know how to judge a competition. And that way, the judging standards and the techniques worldwide will become a little bit more standardized and will improve not just Grand Slam competitions, but every other competition, because those judges that take this, or those people that take this Judge Academy, will then go and judge other competitions and will then bring their knowledge to those competitions. And it'll be an ongoing snowball effect, which will hopefully improve Flair worldwide. So that's one of the most exciting things I'm looking forward to for this year. You know, for those that are competing in competitions, they realize that the judging and the judging techniques, the scoring system is the hardest thing, as it's so subjective. It's so different from one person to another, from one Flair routine to another, from one judge to another. So to try and bring this in and create a community of judging, I suppose, or a standard as well, is something which I think is going to help Flair progress and become more professional and more known within the bartending trade. People are going to hopefully realize that Flair is not just about juggling and throwing bottles up and down. We can actually make a drink. Yeah. We can actually perform pretty well. The judging of the competition is becoming more professional. Mm-hmm. Just all interlinks from then on in, really.
Cool, really nice. So there's a couple of questions that I kind of ask to everyone that I speak to on the podcast. Mm-hmm. And the first one is, if you're going into a new bar that you've not visited before, what is the drink that you are going to order to get an idea of what the bartenders are like, what sort of level they're at?
Daiquiri. Glass daiquiri. Yeah, I mean, it does depend on the bar you go to, but I mean, I think you're assuming like a cocktail bar. Yeah, of course. I mean, generally, I would have a look at the menu first and probably order something which I don't know. Yeah. But if I want to test their skills, I'd order a daiquiri. You know, it's the classic, simplest, best cocktail around. Besides the pina colada, excuse me, sorry. Pina colada is the greatest cocktail ever invented. But the testing cocktail is a classic daiquiri. And to prove it, we went to a bar a couple of weeks ago. I was lucky enough to be in Vegas recently, and I was with Dario Doimo and Vahe Manukian. And we went up to 365 Tokyo, which is kind of like a speakeasy bar because it's members-only bar. There's only 10 seats around a bar in a room. It's exactly how you imagine it to be. And the bartender there, I don't remember his name, unfortunately, but he was a good bartender, and I wanted to try his daiquiri. And I ordered, their classic daiquiri. It was a, how do they have it named? La Floridita daiquiri, I think. Mm-hmm. And but he made it with liquid nitrogen. Oh, cool. And I must say it was one of the best daiquiris I had, simply because it was cold all the way until the end. Nice. What you would expect from a liquid nitrogen daiquiri.
Yeah.
But it was very, very good indeed.
Awesome.
Well, you can tell a good bartender by making a good daiquiri.
Cool. And if you could sit at any bar in the world, which bar would you pick?
It's a tough one. It's going to sound very arrogant, but a lot of those bars I've already sat at.
Yeah. You're allowed to revisit. That's okay.
Okay. I'd like to go. I think I'd prefer to go like back in time.
Okay.
And perhaps go and sit at the Savoy years and years ago, and go there when perhaps Peter Dorelli was bartending. See what it was like. I don't know. Actually, that's a good question. It's something I haven't really thought about before. Let's come back to it. I'll think about it as we're going along.
Yeah, no problems. What else was I going to ask you now? Who are your influences? Who were your biggest influences when you started Flair Bartending and today?
Well, Jody Myers, as I said, was my bar manager at the time, and he pushed me forward a little bit to encourage me to flair a little bit more, and we made a small tandem when we worked together. Mm-hmm. There was another guy that showed me a few flair moves. His name was Steve Rockel, who used to work at TGI Fridays, and he showed me a few moves as well. Nicholas St. John, the classic. I saw him compete in 2000 Roadhouse World Finals, and obviously thought he was extremely good. And when I saw him flair, I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. And I want to do this competition. I want to be able to compete against him. Neil Garner influenced me as well. He helped push me along. He saw potential in my flair and helped push me forward. And then up till now, the people that I sort of look up to and in some ways become envious of a little bit are the new people.
Yeah.
The newbies coming out in flair, because I think they've got the hardest job in the world to start coming up and win competitions. The flair has become so diverse and difficult and technical that you have to practice your ass off to get up there with the people that are in, the top six. And so, yeah, I look at the new people, and my advice to you guys out there who are flaring, who are new, is don't give up. Don't be disheartened by the moves that you maybe see in your peers doing or the pros doing. You will get there one day. It's just a case of practice, practice, practice. There's no shortcuts. There's no tips or tricks about getting this right. You just have to practice your ass off and make your drinks. As I said earlier, make sure you're making your you know how to bartend and you can make a cocktail. But if you're going to compete in a competition, make your drinks. But it just comes down to practice. I like visiting Nightjar in London simply because I look at that place, and they may not like me saying that, I look at that place as it's a mixology bar, I suppose, or a speakeasy. I don't know how they label themselves precisely, or a jazz bar. But I see the bartenders, and I'm like, for me, that is a version of Flair. They're not throwing bottles around. They're not juggling. Okay, they're not making a mess. They're making great cocktails before all of you out there listening to this start shouting, and we go, no, it's not. No, it's not. But Flair is a style of bartending, and it's a panache. It's a way of bartending, and they have a very unique and stylish way of making their cocktails. They have little spins with the jiggers, or they grab the bottle slightly differently. They pour in a specific way. They stand in a specific way. They make their drinks in a very unique and specific way, which is what Flair is. Flair is a way to make your drinks. Every bartender in the world has Flair, whether people like it or not, but it has the stigma that people just throw bottles around, and unfortunately, that's not that does happen, but that's not the full be all and end all. But anyway. I digress. Nightjar is a nice place I like to go and visit. But there's a lot of places to go to. Carnival Court is a great Flair bar, entertainment bar. I mean, any person that knows anything about Flair should know Carnival Court and the history behind that. There's a lot that I can't think of.
I mean, Carnival Court always sticks in my head because I think it was my second time at the Roadhouse. Mm-hmm. I ended up with Tim Morris, Flippy, and Graham Warner bar backing for me.
Nice.
And it was just crazy. I was like, what's going on here? It was absolutely crazy. And Flippy taught me that thing he does with the tins. With his offhand and he taught me that, and I've done that every day since.
The little tip, whatever it is, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like this weird S-shaped thing, but it's three separate moves, but it looks so good when it's quick. And thank you so much for joining me. And where can people find you if they want to follow you on Twitter, Facebook, all that sort of thing?
I'm on Facebook. I have a fan page, which is a bit long-winded one, which is www.dangerousdiet.co.uk, which is obviously my website as well, but it's my fan page on Facebook. I'm on Twitter as TD Dangerous Dyer, and actually recently I've got a pause bar which has come out as well, and I'm going to be in a few exhibitions around the world this year, or a few different places, maybe not around the world. That sounds a lot more glamorous than what it's actually going to be. But our first one is actually, funnily enough, happening in Vegas this year. And we're going to be at the Las Vegas Bar Convention and selling the TD1 at 5:30. So come down if you're in America listening to this. Come down, check it out. Come and say hello. We'll be selling them there. You can get your hands on them. But I'm all over social media and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as well. Instagram, TommyDD3. So if you can keep track on all of those, then fantastic. Add me, I'll add you, and we'll keep in touch. Yeah, and if I think of a bar that I want to sit at, I'll post it on my Twitter account. I'll go to the bar, take a picture, say this is where I want to sit.
And we'll retweet it for you, no problem.
Really, no, I just want to say thanks very much for tuning in, guys. Big thanks to you, Dave, for giving me the opportunity to do this. It's something new for me, actually. I've been on radio stations before and done interviews for magazines and things like that, but to do it like this is quite interesting. I like it. It's exciting. Awesome. So if you ever want me back at any point, just let me know. I'll be happy to come back and do it again.
Yeah, thank you ever so much, Tom, and we will talk to you again soon.
Very good.
Thanks very much.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to the BartenderHQ.com podcast. Find us on Facebook and Twitter at BartenderHQ.